Hello guys, it's Mariel here. If you're new, welcome to my channel. If you're not, welcome back. This is going to be my labor and delivery vlog, like story time. I did a blog, but I wasn't actually allowed to film in there, like film my birth and film me pushing out. There's a lot of things that went down, a lot of things that you guys didn't see in my birth vlog that was actually really traumatic and actually kind of dangerous. That makes sense. Like, yeah. I'm sorry if you guys hear baby bum or if the lighting changes. I'm using natural sunlight, and baby bum is on for Ella Pride because she's currently taking a nap. At least trying to go down from her nap. And baby boy, Sai, is right there. Sai is his nickname. Hopefully he'll be awake when I do my 1 week postpartum, because I am 1 week postpartum. 1 week from actually giving birth. Okay, there you guys can see. So let's just get into this. So I went to go get induced on the 19th. His due date was May 23rd, but my doctor doesn't induce on Saturdays. He does it the weekends. So he induced on the weekends, like the weekdays, not on like the weekends. So he was born, I think, 5 days before his due date, which is only like almost a week before his due date, which is not a whole lot because he was considered full term at 39 weeks and 3 days. That is the farthest I've ever made it in my pregnancy. We decided to induce me because he was measuring big and he just wasn't showing signs of coming. Like my body going into natural labor on its own wasn't showing signs of like going on its own. So we decided to I decided and he decided that it would be best to induce me that day on the 19th. It was supposed to be the 18th, but I guess the induction dates were like all full. So with that being said, I went in at like 6 o'clock a.m. I woke up at 5 in the morning on the 19th and went in at 6 o'clock. We got there at like 6 in the morning with my mom. Sorry if you guys hear my dog. She wants to butt in this. But we went in there at 6 o'clock. I arrived there, got checked in. I had to wear a mask because of the COVID-19. They were only allowing one person in the birthing center. So it was my mom and not the father of the child, because I'll get more into that later in the video. Basically, we went in. They started the injection process. I think that was around like 6 something, maybe 6:30, 6 something. And I was only in labor for 6 hours. Believe it or not, from 6:30 to 12:08 is when he was born. So only in labor for 6 hours, which is not bad. With that being said, I got induced. They started the Pitocin. They started like a IV drip bag thing, because I wasn't supposed to have like any water or anything else to drink. I did eat before I went up there, but I wasn't supposed to have anything else to eat when you're in labor. When you're in labor, so yeah, is that true? You're not supposed to have anything when you're done in labor. Sorry if you guys hear Ella in the background. But we started it and everything. I have a video where I'm sitting on a birthing ball, which was nice because I actually got to sit on that, and I was already dilated to, what was it, a 3, almost a 4 when I went in. So I was gonna have baby boy that day because they said, okay, you're gonna go fast because you're already dilated. There's already like a phasing. I was already starting to lose my mucus plug too, so I was gonna go really fast. So with that being said, it was like around the time they tried to check me, and they come in, they're like, I'm on the birthing exercising ball. They come in, they're like, do you feel any of these contractions? And I'm like, no, I don't feel any of these. I want to try going natural as possible, but I'm not gonna leave out the idea of having the epidural, but I don't want to get it too soon. So I think around they checked me, I wasn't feeling any of them. They were just impressed. They're like, wow, you don't feel any of these contractions? Like, no, I don't feel any of them. But I decided to go for the epidural because they checked me again and I was like 5, almost 6 centimeters dilated at the time. So I just opted for the epidural, even though I didn't feel my contractions. It was more out of safety reasons and medical reasons why I did it for the epidural. One, because my last birth was, part of my cervix wasn't like thinning out when I got induced, and it caused a lot of problems, and I had to get the epidural at like 9.5 centimeters dilated with my last pregnancy. So I just was like, okay, fine. Let's just make the birth as smooth as possible. You know, even though I'm not feeling these, let's just go for the epidural. So they gave me my epidural at like 5, almost 6 years early. I think it was like 6 when they gave me my epidural, because that's when the anesthesiologist can come in and give you it. I was all numbed up, and let me just say, I've never experienced the epidural like fully working. They put like what was it? The cuffs to like relieve like blood clots in your legs, because you can't move. You're literally restricted to the bed because you can't feel anything. You're like paralyzed from the waist down. And I started itching right here really bad, which I didn't know that was like a thing of the epidural, and my lips started going numb because like they let the medicine run for like a long time, and they had to like turn it off because they kept like touching me like up here, and I'm like, I can't feel that, because I couldn't. I was literally like numb from like my lips down, so they stopped the medication because I was so numb. Plus it just made me super itchy and stuff like that. That was not fun. Like I itched really bad right here. So with that being said, in the matter of like, I dilated super fast. In a matter of him, like the doctor breaking my water, they're like, okay, they checked me and they're like, okay, your water bag is bulging. Let's just go ahead and break your water at like 6 years, almost 7 years, and dilate it. So they broke my water, and that's when I went from like either I was like a 5 or something, like 6 or 7. I don't think I was 7 centimeters. I think I was like either like 5 or 6. Because I think that's when I got my epidural. I could just be wrong. I mean, the whole thing was just a blur, which I'll mention later on in the video. So I'm not really sure how dilated I was, but I know they broke my water, and I think I went from like a 6 or a 5 to like a 10 in a matter of like, I think less than an hour. And at this time, it was currently like almost like 12 o'clock. My mom was reading me a book before, like she was reading me a book, and because I was restricted to the bed, she was reading me a book. I had music going. It was just a relaxing thing. So that's what we had. And then the time came around for me to start pushing, and that was around, I think, maybe like, okay, I had him at 12:08, so I think I started pushing around like 11 something. And I think I only pushed for maybe like, I think it was like maybe, I don't think it was an hour. I don't think I pushed for an hour. I think I only pushed for like a couple minutes, like 30 minutes, I think. And then he started coming out. And when he started coming out, like I said, this whole thing is a blur, which I'll mention, which we're getting to that point. This whole thing was kind of a blur, but when I was pushing, his head came down really fast in the birth canal. So his head came down fast because of how fast I was, like how I was pushing, came down fast, and so his head was bruised. His head is still bruised. His face is still bruised. And then his shoulders got like stuck in my birth canal, which was not fun. And the doctor, so I had 2 doctors, and then I had the respiratory people in the room. Like the room was packed basically. But my doctor and the doctor that was delivering Cyrus, or baby boy, Cy, they, like, my doctor, I think, had his head. The doctor that was delivering had, like, the shoulders, and they pulled him out with, like, his head and his shoulders, because the shoulders got stuck. Like, his shoulders were just too wide to fit through my birth canal. And I basically got told I cannot have any more babies that are bigger than him. And he was 9 pounds, 0.5 ounces, and was 20.5 inches long. So with that being said, he was a really big baby. He came out really big. He came out 9 pounds, which is my biggest baby. He doubled my last baby, which was 7 pounds, 4 ounces. He is the second longest baby I've had. My first was my longest baby. He's the second, and then my middle child is like the smallest. So with it being that said, they put him up here, and they were delivering my placenta, and I did tear because of his shoulders. I had a second degree tear, but I think it's now like dissolving. The stitches are now dissolving. I could feel them when they were I could feel the doctor when he was stitching me up. He came out perfectly fine. They had him up here, and when it was time to, like, my mom cut the umbilical cord, and because I did delayed cord clamping, I think that's what it's called. My mom cut it, and then they took him and gave him to the respiratory people, and I they delivered my placenta and everything like that, and they're like, wow, this is a really healthy placenta. I remember them saying that. And then they got me all stitched up and everything like that, and this is the part where, like, so they do this thing, like, you lose a lot of blood when you're giving birth, and I was just losing a lot of blood, and, you know, they got me all fixed up, the respiratory people were still there, and I was shivering. I started shivering, where my teeth were, like, chattering really, really bad. They were, like, literally chattering. It's like if you stuck me in a freezer, that's how cold I was. And so I just kept losing a lot of blood, and my teeth were chattering really bad, and it was just bad. Like, I looked at my mom and I looked at my baby boy, and I was just like, okay, you know, if I'm going to pass, I'd rather pass with, like, you know, my kids. Like, I know my kids are gonna be well taken care of, if that makes sense. Like, I was to the point where it just started just getting really, like, it's a blur from here on. Then I just remember my teeth chattering really bad. I was super, super cold. They had like 4 blankets. They had this thing where you so when people have like a C-section, they get cold and they have like this heater thing. I had the heater thing on me, and I'd see my mom crying because they didn't know what was going on with me. And they figured, okay, they checked me and they weigh like how much blood you lose, like the pad underneath you, they weigh that. And I lost a lot of blood, so I hemorrhaged after delivering, which is really bad. They had medication in me. There's 5 medications to stop hemorrhaging or to slow down your bleeding. Out of the 4th medication, out of 5 medications, the 4th medication finally started working. And it was a medication that it was in a liquid form. They normally like stick shots in you. It was like the shot one that they stick in you, but I had mine in liquid form because I had the IV in me. And that medication finally started working. But like I said, I don't remember a whole lot of it. I just remember I was hooked up to that bag to stop my bleeding. I was giving medication to stop the bleeding. I threw that up. Like I said, I was super cold. My teeth were chatting. I just kept looking at my baby boy. My mom started crying. I remember that. But from the rest there, it was kind of a blur, honestly. Yeah, I can't really tell you that much because it was really kind of a blur. I just know they were trying to like stop the bleeding and get it to slow down. And finally the 4th medication started finally working. And after that, I just lost so much blood. They were talking about like a blood transfusion or an iron transfusion. I got an iron transfusion. When they checked my plates, when they drew my blood, my plates were at an 8. So my blood count was at an 8, which is not good. Which is where like they're really debating on like, okay, blood transfusion or iron transfusion. The only reason why they gave me an iron transfusion instead of a blood transfusion was because of my symptoms. I wasn't having like lightheadedness, faintness, or anything like that, or showing signs where I needed a blood transfusion, but I was showing signs that I needed an iron transfusion. And they want to do everything possible to not give you somebody else's blood, basically. So they gave me an iron transfusion. I stayed in the hospital for 2 days prior to that, just to make sure I was okay. Just to make sure like my body was okay, my body was reacting to the iron transfusion. Remind you this is my 3rd iron transfusion. I had 2 when I was pregnant because of how low my iron was. The medication I was taking, the iron pills I was taking, my body wasn't absorbing the iron, basically. Baby boy was taking all the iron from me. So I had a really low iron going into it, and then I hemorrhaged, and that caused me to basically almost bleed out. Like I said, I lost a lot of blood. With that being said, that's pretty much my birth experience. It was very dramatic. Like I said, most of it's kind of a blur because I don't remember a whole lot of it. I just remember being really, really cold, shivering, looking over, and be like, okay, this is my time to go. This is my time to go. Like, I know my kids are well taken care of. Like, that was my thought in my head. And I believe like my grandma was watching over me because all the nurses I had were basically nurses that my grandma used to work with. And it sounds weird, but like I felt like her presence next to me when I was like cold and shivering. Like, I felt her presence when I just like looked over. She, like, to me it was just like a sign, like, keep looking at your baby, you're okay, he's okay, like, just keep looking at your baby. and that's kind of like what I did until like everything was okay. I just kept looking at him. That's pretty much all. I haven't really much to tell you guys. Stayed in the hospital for 2 days, got the iron transfusion. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm okay now. I gotta go home after 2 days. Baby boy was like, he was fine. Like, Sai was fine until like he started throwing up my breast milk and the formula. He just kept throwing that up, and we didn't know why. He kept throwing it up, kept throwing up. He checked out fine with the respiratory people, but he just kept throwing it up, and that was not good. Besides that, he was a healthy little boy, and they did the like 24-hour like screening test thing. He passed that. Before we got to go home, he just wasn't passing the hearing test at all. He kept failing it like 4 times. So we had an appointment today, and he didn't pass in his like right ear. So we get to see a doctor for that and everything like that. But that is my labor and delivery story. Like, it's a crazy one. It's a very traumatic one. I'm lucky to be here and be alive, because I basically could have like could have just passed away because of how like traumatic it was. Yeah, I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful that I have my kids that I have now. I will not have any more kids. I'm actually scared to get pregnant again. I'm getting birth control that goes inside you for 5 years, which I think is like the Mirena. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm done having kids for right now. I'm done. That was already a traumatic birth, as it already is. Like I said, I'm lucky to be here, and lucky that everything and baby boy and I are perfectly okay and are doing okay so far. Like I said, I would show you him, but he's currently sleeping. But I'll post a picture probably right over here or over here. But that's what he looks like. He's a cute little boy and everything like that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoyed my labor and delivery story. Don't forget to subscribe and comment like below.